You talked about infrastructure before. Why is infrastructure spend so important for looking at future capital growth?
Well, in two ways. A major piece of new infrastructure can improve the appeal of an area, whether it's a new rail line, a new motorway that makes an area more accessible and easier to get around, or it might be a new university or a new hospital, which increases the amenity of a place. But also, major new infrastructure creates jobs both in the construction of it and often in the operation of it. And we particularly like universities and hospitals. We've seen that on the Sunshine Coast. It's a great case study in how a major infrastructure spend can completely revolutionise an economy, and as a result of that, the property market. So on the Sunshine Coast, that new medical precinct has created a whole new industry that previously didn't exist on the Sunshine Coast. It's brought all these new people from other parts of Australia, maybe other parts of the world, to live and work on the Sunshine Coast, many of them very highly paid medical specialists, and that's really pumped up the top end of the property market. So I noticed that the median price for Minyama, which is not too far from where we're currently sitting, has increased something like 30% in the last 12 months, and the suburbs up around Noosa have had similar results. And I don't think it's a coincidence that kind of growth at the top end of this market has happened immediately after the completion and the beginning of operations of that massive new medical precinct.
Yeah. So Terry, obviously one of the things we just talked about is infrastructure. The impact of the Olympic Games, what's that going to have on infrastructure projects, obviously here in Southeast Queensland? Now we know that a lot of these are already planned projects, but they're going to be pushed up into the next 10 years, so they can be fast-tracked, and they're fully funded now by state and federal and to some part local governments. Yeah. But how's it going to impact, we just talked about, we've seen growth already because of things like the hospital, but how's it going to impact Southeast Queensland and the Olympics?
Well, it's going to bring a lot of people into Brisbane.
And when too, sorry.
Well, I think it starts now. I mean, it's the Olympics, they sound like they're a long way away, 10 years, but the impact starts now. Firstly, it starts with this huge global media focus on Brisbane and Southeast Queensland, and that will continue, and particularly as we get closer to the Olympics. But in terms of the infrastructure spend, that starts now. Since it became known that Brisbane was going to get the Olympics, even before the confirmation announcement recently, there was an announcement that they're going to invest $1 billion upgrading the Gabba. That's a huge project. They've, since the confirmation of the 2032 Olympics for Brisbane and Southeast Queensland, they've announced the media centre. So there's a big site that they've earmarked in South Brisbane to create the media centre for the Olympics. So they're already moving on that. So all these things are being fast-tracked. So some of them are things that would have happened anyway, but some of the things that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the Olympics. But it's not just the infrastructure. If we can take the Sydney Olympics and the Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast in 2018 as examples, there's also massive investment by private enterprise, because the tourism and hospitality industry can see what's coming. And it's not just the period of the Olympics, it's all the lead up. There's people going to be coming and going from this point forward, but particularly as we get closer to the Olympics. So we're going to need more and better hotel rooms, and we're going to need more entertainment facilities. And the people who are in that business are going to be planning now to prepare for what's coming. And so that, all of that together is going to be massive for Brisbane, for the Gold Coast, for the Sunshine Coast, and to a lesser extent, Townsville and Cairns.
Yeah, great.